Zerg versus Zerg is an interesting matchup. Some people say it's too random, too luck-based. There's a possibility. What I would say is that it's a matchup that really does not allow for mistakes under any circumstances, and here we go. I bring you Sen from Team Fnatic MSI. He is in the blue trunks, and he is playing Zerg right here on the crevasse versus his opponent, the one and only Naugrim. He is in the red trunks, and he is playing Zerg. Well, let's see what happens here. Naugrim is just coming off a set of games with OGS MC. Now, I don't know the results of those games, but I do know it went to Game 3, which means that Naugrim actually won a game against MC. So that's a good start. Naugrim definitely powerful, but of course we don't know what his Zerg versus Zerg is like, at least I don't. I've never had the pleasure of casting him. I'm looking forward to this being the first time. Sen I've seen before in a Zerg versus Terran environment where he absolutely smashes his opponents. Seems to be his strongest matchup at this point in time. Quick extractor trick right there by Sen, getting himself an extra drone for the time being, breaking that supply block, and building his overboard a little bit later. See right there, not a huge difference in the two. There's always debates about the extractor trick. It's like, well, is there any purpose of doing the extractor trick? Yes and no, and to be fair, it's not really worth worrying too much about. I think that's the thing that everyone really needs to bear in mind. Just don't sweat the small stuff. So, Zerg versus Zerg can end in a number of different ways. The most boring way for it to end is large blobs of roaches shooting each other until one of them falls over. That's not so great. Another way it can end is the Zergling-Baneling run around for about 20 minutes, where Zerglings and Banelings charge each other and one opponent desperately attempts to get more kills than the other. And this is crevasse, which means they're all guaranteed a nice, safe early hatchery. You can see they've both chosen to take it. Naugrim at the back, and Sen at the back as well. I'd say they're close air, but this is a bit of a misnomer on this map. It's going to be far one way or the other. Identical builds from these two for the time being. Again, not unusual in Zerg versus Zerg, unless you're going for a very early aggressive approach, which is not happening right now. Identical drone counts, identical overlord counts, and identical build orders. And we see Sen is slightly behind on the spawning pool, not by a huge amount. Is it enough to make a difference? No, not really. It doesn't actually matter. I suppose those people really don't like casting PvP and Zerg versus Zerg because they usually open exactly the same way. And the first 5 minutes of the game have to be filled by amusing banter, which a lot of us are really bad at, especially when we're doing solo work. Always something to consider. If you want to follow Moro's example, Moro believes that Zerg vs. Zerg is so annoyingly random that he's not willing to actually play it anymore. He will play Terran in any versus Zerg matchup, and he's doing a fairly good job of doing just that. Speeding upgrade coming up for both right here, and it would not in any way surprise me to see one of these guys go for Banelings and then the other guy to go for Banelings. And once that happens, it will indeed the Clone Wars begin. Usually that kind of fight comes down to basic micro and positioning. It comes down to, well, how many of these units can I kill versus how many units he kills. It's about efficiency. Baneling Nest is on his way for Sen. Note that Naugrim is not doing anything of the sort. Now, of course, he could be building the Baneling Nest later. Well, there's also the possibility that he could go for the Roach Warren, or he could be going for that very early tech up to Lair. 6 Zerglings on the way up right here for Naugrim, and Sen working on this Baneling Nest quite nicely. Interesting that there's no response yet from Naugrim to that. Needless to say, he hasn't scouted it yet, but surely he should be expecting at this point in a Zerg versus Zerg that his opponent would be going for a Baneling Nest. Very common. It's usually a very good idea as well. Baneling Nest is now started. This could be a potential opportunity for Sen. Naugrim's Baneling Nest is really late. It's about 50 seconds behind his opponents. If Sen is able to get in there and do big damage, then he can win this game almost immediately. There are 3 Banelings already on the way. Now, Sen has an advantage in terms of the number of... In fact, sorry, Naugrim has an advantage in terms of the number of Zerglings he's got. It's not a huge one. He is now streaming in. He's going to see those Banelings spawning in as well, and surely he's going to want to get the hell out of there. He's going right for them. Naugrim quickly dodging out of that. Now, this is when the tense situation really begins, because what MSI Sen wants to actually do is lock down Naugrim so that he can deal maximum damage with Banelings. The more units he kills with each Baneling, the better this attack is, for obvious reasons. It's about efficiency. You can't waste a Baneling killing a single Zergling. It's not a good idea. They cost more. That's a waste. You don't want to do that. Naugrim is all the way out of position right now, and Sen is desperately trying to hunt him down. In the meantime, there's 3 Banelings making their way forward right now, and this will be Baneling versus Baneling, which ends up in the Banelings dying, by the way, if you hadn't figured that one out. Sen just patrolling around, trying to find what he can, and the answer from Sen is to go immediately into a Roach Warren, which I think a lot of us are very happy about, because that means we're not going to have 20 minutes of Zergling Baneling wars. Naugrim sitting on a reasonably good defense right now. The economic advantage has to go in favor of Sen, however, who has built plenty more drones, but Naugrim has a larger force. You can see the army supply difference right there. It's fairly significant. There's 49, I didn't count them, 49 Zerglings in Naugrim's force right now. He's got a large group up here, and he is, of course, massing up a group here as well. Now, Sen's Banelings will prove to be devastating, but Zerglings tend to tear through roaches if they get a good surround on them. It tends to work pretty well. So we'll see exactly how that ends up working for him. It's looking good right now for Naugrim. 48 Zerglings to 20 right here. Every other count pretty equal. Naugrim with a slight disadvantage, a slight deficit in terms of the number of units he's got right there, and a nice little strike initially by Sen. Unfortunately, he's going to end up losing that Baneling if he doesn't want to get, he needs to get out of there immediately. The worst thing is when you have one Zergling try and pick off one of your Banelings. As you can see right there, the Zergling war's going on right here. Sen will try and cover those Banelings as best he can. Here's another engagement. Couple of Banelings moving in. Oh, a nice strike right there, and Sen taking a good chunk of his opponents out there. Couple of Banelings taken out there as well. Units killed is 29 to 6 right now in Sen's favor. That's a very, very strong opening from him. Charging into the middle line, and more to the point, getting some scouting information. He spots the Spire. He knows what's coming. The Spire is also coming from him. A little bit of engagement there by Sen, but once again, not losing a huge number of units. Everything in favor of Sen right now, simply as a result of that excellent Baneling strike earlier on in the game. Naugrim's numbers are actually much reduced right now. He's way, way lower than he should be. He's on 26 Zerglings, and his opponent's on 33. Now building up to 36. Muta's on the way, and a quick strike coming in right here. Sen is too quick, though. Baneling versus Baneling. And no Banelings die. There's a peace treaty between these Banelings. As you can see, they're not interested. Look, they just don't care. However, these Banelings might end up getting picked off if he's not careful. The best thing you can possibly do against Banelings is to lose just one Zergling picking them off. It's great. There's the surround there by Sen. It's looking pretty good for him and pushing him back, but that's a mass Baneling morph right here. Sen needs to get away from that immediately, or he needs to do something about it. The Roaches may be able to absorb a lot of that fire, and it might even be able to cancel a few of them out. Banelings versus Banelings. Here we go. What a detonation! Sen, well played. Using 2 Banelings to detonate about 20 of them. Excellent play right there, and now MSI Sen following up right here with yet more Roaches. However, does he have the numbers? It looks like he probably does not, and Zerglings do tend to take out Roaches pretty damn effectively. 12 Mutalisks now on the way for Sen as the follow-up right here. Zerglings streaming in to support them. The army count is in favor of Sen right now, as is the worker supply count. It's looking pretty good. All Banelings coming in, he's going to have to be a little bit careful, but Sen hasn't fallen into the trap just yet. However, if he's not careful, he might end up doing just that. A couple more Banelings come in to try and neutralize these, and there's the detonation. It's a good cleanup. That's 3 to 2. Okay, right now we are in a situation where Mutalisks and Zerglings will decide the fate of this particular game. We've got a large force up here, and he's denying Overlords for his opponent. This is looking very, very nice right here for Sen. He's going to be able to do huge damage. These things tear through groups of Zerglings, as well as everything else, more to the point. He's going to need Spore Crawlers up immediately in order to try and deal with this. Right now, he doesn't have them. He's got an Evolution Chamber right here, but Naugrim is taking a battering. This expansion right here that he managed to build didn't actually manage to mine anything, so it doesn't really matter at all. In the meantime, Sen is using a couple of spare Mutalisks to pick off more of these Overlords as much as he possibly can. There's loads lying around for him to grab. That's perfect. That's going to force his opponent to build, well, more Overlords. And in response to this, we've actually got Naugrim going with Corruptors. Makes sense. Spore Crawlers and Corruptors coming up right here for him. Hell, we might even see Broodlords in a Zerg versus Zerg game. That would be crazy. Another free Overlord right here for Sen, and Naugrim is bleeding badly right now. His army supply is not in the situation it really wants to be at all. A couple of Corruptors out right there. Don't really know how effective a few Corruptors are going to be, though, honestly. They don't fire all that fast. They're going to have to go into the interception anyway. He can stop the Spore Crawler right here, and he takes that offense. Look at the amount of damage that came in. That took that down to half HP with one salvo. He's going to need way more than 3 Corruptors in order to deal with this. He's got more Mutalisks on the way as well, and Sen is going full on into air units, as well as Zerglings on the ground to back them up. Another free Overlord right here. Naugrim is now supply blocked. Naugrim's in a fairly terrible position right now, if I've got to say so, and I do. It's my job. Naugrim with an infestation pit coming up, but it might be too little too late, as MSI Fnatic Sen with 50 Zerglings on the field and plenty of Mutalisks is picking off every Overlord he can see, forcing his opponent back, making his opponent spend money where really he does not want to do anything of the sort. Another free Overlord for him, and Sen now joined with yet more Mutalisks, 24 on the field right here, and plenty of Zerglings and plenty of Banelings coming in. He's going to go for the Spore Crawler right now. It makes sense. Those can't do damage quick enough, and he's going for the second one. He takes the Corruptor out almost immediately, and he's cleaning it up right here. Plenty of damage coming in right now. Naugrim moving in with a large force of Corruptors. Will that be enough to nail it down? Will it matter more to the point? And I think that's the most important thing to consider, because you'll see that MSI Sen right here will be able to come in with immense damage on the ground very shortly. A quick transfer, and it's not enough. Down go the Corruptors, and Naugrim getting his natural expansion gutted, and here comes the Zerglings and the Banelings. Oh my god, it's a massacre! What a detonation that was. There's nothing left of Naugrim after this, honestly. There it goes, and surely he's not going to keep playing after this. It seems absurd. There's no way Naugrim can really do huge amounts of damage here. He might be able to gut one expansion, but those Mutalisks are going to clean up everything else, and all of those Overlords are incredibly vulnerable to attack. A few Queens coming in, but it will be nowhere near enough. The Queens going down incredibly rapidly. 1, 2, and 3. Naugrim is getting annihilated right now. That's a lot of free Overlords right here, and GG, ladies and gentlemen. There you go, the first game in this best of 3 series going to Fnatic MSI Sen in an excellent Zerg versus Zerg